warm welcome. My name is Nitin, and today we are doing another session of Alumni talk show with our guest, or probably I would say we are the guest at his workshop. His name is Ekanssh Baroliya, and he is a reconditioning specialist at Karegar EarthMover Private Limited. Thank you for inviting us today here at the workshop. It is a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, Nitin. I think it's a pleasure to have you here. And just to give you a very brief, we are India's first professional Karegar, and I'm a reconditioning specialist wherein we recondition used construction equipment of all forms and types.
Sounds very interesting actually. But before we reach there and start with your journey, the Karegar is, very new. I would say not a new, but very typical word. Where did you get the idea of this word from?
So initially when we were planning this entire setup, this was more based around we'll buy equipments, we'll recondition them and sell it. But then we realized the main idea and the main essence of the entire business is in the reconditioning. Not many people are doing it the right way. And reconditioning is done by mechanics who in Hindi or we call them Karegar. Right. So Karegar is the whole sole purpose behind equipments when it comes to reconditioning. So when I say we are India's first professional Karegar, I am a professional and at the same time I can repair an equipment. So for me to manage the set of people and to manage a team who are mechanics and who are laborers at the same time and to make sure they deliver well, they are a strong team. But reconditioning is a process wherein an equipment comes in and it goes old and it goes out new. So for us entirely, Karegar is the essence of everything around our business. So hence we are Karegar Earth Movers.
Good to know that, and I think you have found your niche and expertise there, and we'll come to that part on the later part of our interview. And just to update my audience that Ekanssh is the pilot batch graduate of the BBA program of REY from REC School of Built Environment. And with me talking about it, let me ask Ekanssh to take us through the journey in terms of with the RICS, how your experience has been with the organization, and a brief overview of your background and introduction.
So it's almost been 10 years since I joined RICS, and I just calculated it as we were starting the interview. And so in 2013 when I started with RICS, and then ultimately after 3 years of calculation, having a crazy journey because it was the first batch. We had a lot of industry leaders that time teaching us directly. We were very lucky to be part of the first batch in some forms. And then having an internship stint with Black Olive, Mr. Sunil Agarwal, which was a great upside to my entire career path in terms of the knowledge I had. Then finally joining CBRE as one of my first placements from RICS, moving on to a great journey of 5 years with CBRE, and finally having my own company where we recondition equipment. It's a great overall journey which I've had, and it's been 3 years in the business now, and we're doing great. We are exploring as we grow, and still very well connected with the real estate environment around us.
Right, and that's something which I see a roller coaster ride, from Black Olive, which is somewhere in valuation, to CBRE, multiple profiles there, and then your entrepreneur setup. So we'll reach there one at a time, but let's start with Black Olive, internship segment. So how have your experience and learning with Black Olive?
See, Black Olive was like the first stepping stone for me into professionalism, I would say. And the journey was more based about learning the skills and learning the tools. So how I learned in an internship in terms of an MS project or a MS, let's say an Excel or a PowerPoint, those skill set developed very well in my internship. I was blessed to have great bosses, Mr. Sunil Agarwal, Mr. Pallav Agarwal, and with them, like hands-on, I kind of learned my skills around Microsoft, my skills around presenting, my skills around making reports, making documents, and to make sure to be on top of things. How to prioritize things. Things are kept at always a priority with the team, and we made sure we delivered. So I learned a lot around delivering the things on time, learned a lot around paperwork, maintaining the printing of papers, how to document files, how to make those filing works. People don't teach you like either in college or even at workplace, they expect you to have these skills of printing and documenting, but these skills are actually learned at an internship.
Looks like
So,
a lot of paperwork there.
This was a lot of paperwork, but great learning for me.
Right, a lot of learning in terms of probably documenting, paperwork, preparing those reports, but yet a lot of learning there. So, how CBRE happened? Probably take us through your journey in terms of, your learnings there, the profiles. I see that you have worked on a couple of profiles there. So, probably, for our audience, you can talk us through your profile, how the day at work looks like, key learnings there, and let's see how it goes.
So, CBRE is in fact a dream company for a lot of people who are part of RICS and SBE. And for me, it was a great, let's say, great stepping stone, because CBRE people dream of being there, and I was there. So I still remember my first day at CBRE, and I was in awe, because with 600 people, everybody very highly experienced. I was just 21 years old when I stepped into CBRE. It gave me goosebumps there. And for me, initially when I was in valuations, it was a lot about using my skills of PowerPoint and Excel from Black Olive and showing everybody how good I am when it came to giving out documentations, making reports for valuations, doing a lot of site visits. So my typical routine for a project would be to get the pre-inspection details, go into that particular city, be it Lucknow, be it Jaipur, travel to the city, see the particular property which you are valuing, do a proper inspection, see everything around the city, whatever you have, and gauge comparables, figure out the right comparables, and finally come back, put it into a proper report, make a proper Excel model out of it, and then making sure that your boss is convinced with the value which you are putting into stuff. Running that entire model and making sure there are no errors into it. So, great learning experience of 3 years into valuation. I was blessed to have some great bosses there, which helped me in even gauging that mindset of how real estate is valued and how people make money out of it. And it was more when I realized that valuation is about, let's say, it's a back-end job at the end of the day. Some people really love it because you get a sense of authority, as in you're valuing properties for banks, and they have to bang on it. They have to abide by it. So people do love it, who want a sense of authority, and they are very good with financial modeling. It's perfect for those set of people. But I wanted something more, and I wanted to interact with people. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to explore a lot of the market side of real estate. And that's where I went into brokerage. So when I went into brokerage, into CBRE itself, I was very lucky to be able to do that. I went into the transactions department, and I was into specifically retail restaurants. So I picked up my passion for food, and that's where I went into food and restaurants transactions. So completely different journey altogether.
Wow, starting with that work, when you are on the ground with the sites, looking around things, doing the ground research, probably contemplating all that data into the sheets, models that you're working on, and again, mix of both worlds, desk job as well as on ground things. You're looking at the ground reality, putting it across in terms of numbers and figures, which really match up to the expectations, which I think is a lot of work that needs to be taken care of. But you're still not settled there. You moved on to a different ballgame altogether, and again, I think that will also involve your ground visits, visiting on to those properties as well.
See, in transactions, it's more about people skills, and even though I was very confident about my people skill and the people management to a level skills, or interpersonal skills for that matter, I wasn't up there. There was a lot of scope. So once I started interacting with clients, started meeting people, started meeting developers at one end, and meeting prospects for acquiring that space in a development at one end, I realized there's a lot of learning. And the 2.5 years which I spent in transactions, I grew in my personal skill from a 0 to maybe an 8, because I was interacting with people, I was negotiating with people, I was convincing people, and I shouldn't say convince, but I was rather building relationships. So one major aspect of transaction which I learned and which I grew onto, and maybe just to handle the pressure at times, was to build relationships. So when you're transacting, you're building relationships, and nobody can teach you on a pen and paper how to build relationships. So this job role of transactions helped me a lot how to build relationships. I'm not talking about a good or a bad relationship. It's about building a relationship. So yes, learned a lot. Some relationships turn sour, some relationships go well, and some relationships go beyond.
And at the same time, I learned, which was something which was very important, it's more important to focus on the client after you sign the paperwork. We are all taught, sign the paperwork, your job is done. But with CBRE and transactions, we realized the job really starts after you have done the paperwork. It's more about making sure how well that store opens up and when you get the money. And mind you me, I was never serious about receiving the money after doing a transaction, but my learning journey of money helped me a lot today in my business. It's very important to make sure whatever you're delivering, whatever is your final product, you should be paid for it on time. Your client should honor it. And he should respect the fact that if you're delivering something, you get paid for it and on time, because then it is headache free. You love to do your job. So all my interpersonal skills and my money matters got sorted with transactions at CBRE. It was a beautiful journey with some really good bosses, so had a great time there.
So it's for everything, but if somebody really wants to engage with people and somebody really likes to be there with people and making sure that you're a people person, that's the space. Transactions happened automatically. And that was the thing with CBRE. It was a great journey.
Right, so a lot of work there as well, and not just making those transactions or completing those transactions and going out for a party. You actually stay there, make the, keep the client warm, and when the transactions and the store opens, the cash flow is something that you have really learned there, and the process of the money which actually flows and from the pocket of a client, when it comes to your pocket, that's when the major pride or the time to party is.
Absolutely.
All right. So again, a lot of learning, and there are two different profiles which you have already worked on. You have a valuation profile with you, you have a transaction advisory profile with you, and I think with 5 years of considerable learning, a person really feels that I'm really settled. And again, with a big company, with a big brand name, money flowing in the pocket, no one would actually take a risk of being an entrepreneur or starting something new.
Right.
What took you there, and you went into an entrepreneurship model from there?
My bosses were never happy with my thinking about leaving jobs. I never intended to. But for me, after a certain point, I need to have a purpose of doing things. Mm-hmm. So transactions was going pretty well. But I still remember a certain time wherein I realized that, and it just clicked, that every boss has a boss. And it might sound rude to a lot of audience, but some people are really happy to have a boss, and they are happy to get a salary on time. But for me, my entire goal in life, and I realized, was I don't want to have a boss maybe at the end of the day. I'll rather be my own boss. And it's not easy to be in that space. The kind of struggle you have for the first few years, it's immense. But I chose a path wherein I realized that it's important for me to start at this age if I want to be somewhere till the time I'm 35. Mm-hmm. I don't want to start a journey at 35 and then repent why I did not start it early. So for me, at the age of 26, it's then when I started my entrepreneurship journey. I think I had enough experience with a corporate to know how things are done and how employees function, to maybe set up my own business wherein I know how they think and making sure they work well for me and for the organization at the end of the day. So I felt it is the right time to make a shift. And luckily, everybody in the family supported, my father supported, and we kind of took the construction equipment route, because that's where my father had experience, and it was easier for me to catch hold of the big guns in construction equipment than to do it in real estate. So hence construction equipment, because he comes with an experience of 15 years, and that's how we started Karegar EarthMovers.
And I see that you are not coming from a family-owned business background. You Absolutely. Are the first generation of entrepreneurs in your family.
So we kind of back in the days, Dad used to have a business, but in 2006 he actually went into corporate, and he started doing a job. But it was a gap of long 15 years. After 15 years, things have changed massively. It's completely fresh. How we think, how we do business, everything has changed.
Right.
And for us now, it's been a great journey till now, but the uphill starts now as we speak. Like this year, the thinking and the process, how we want to run the business has changed entirely. And we are now completely focused on making it a system operated business than a people operated or let's say a single owner driven business.
All right. So with that, when we talk about Karegar EarthMovers, how have been your first year of starting? You mentioned about, there have been some struggles there. How has been?
In business, when you start off with something, there's always a very fancy model and there are great numbers. And you think that business is the easiest thing to do. But at the end of the day, when you start, you realize your model of where we started with buy, refurbish and sell, it was a very long shot. It was something like you need to have crores in your pocket to run that model. And we realized it pretty early. And I believe in a journey of an entrepreneur, it's more important to realize, to adapt and to change. And to make that change, accept that change and move on. So in that journey of 1 year, we realized that model is not working out very well for us. Because how much can we invest? And if the essence of Karegar EarthMovers is to be a Karegar, then why not just focus on being a Karegar? So that first journey of one year, 1.5 years of struggle was more around identifying what we need. And from there, I jumped onto a course which actually helped me a lot. But this entire thought process changed within a year. And the model changed. Now we only recondition. We don't buy or sell. We purely recondition. We purely do it for a very specific segment of people or let's say clients.
So you have been identifying, so in the course you have been able to identify the specialism or the specialty pathway that you want to get into. And probably the next question could be around, the clients. Is it a B2B model or a B2C or a both? How do you do cater to?
And I would emphasize on something very categorically that at the end of the day, the business is completely about how well you can fulfill the need, desires and problems of a particular customer or a particular client. And in this case, we focus typically on exporters who are looking to export used construction equipment and they want a good reconditioned equipment. Nothing of the rags, they want a genuine reconditioned equipment. And when we focus on that, we are focusing specifically on B2B clients. These are businesses who are in the business of export and they have the money to invest into equipments wherein we become their reconditioning partners. And we offer them that kind of confidentiality they want, the kind of time delivery they want, the quality of equipment they want, and the skilled team which they want back end to deliver a good product. So at the end of the day, it's all about delivering the right thing for their client. The machine shouldn't have any faults. It should be delivered to perfection. There should be no leakages, there should be no breakdowns, there should be no hassles. So all of this is taken care of. So that's how it's a B2B business, but purely very focused on delivering a good quality product.
So focusing on the right area, you have narrowed down your specifications from the specialty and field that you're working on to the specialty market that you are targeting, and giving the perfect thing to the people who have deep pockets who can get those machines procured, reconditioned and exported.
Absolutely.
So really bang on to the nail there. So you also talked about a course in our discussion. Tell us something about that learning.
So I would dedicate a lot of my change in thought process to Rajiv Talreja. He's a great coach and he has been in the industry for almost 10 plus years now. And he changed my thought process about how things are done. He changed my thought process on marketing and sales. At RACS, we never used to focus much on our marketing and sales courses or classes. But as a student, but I recommend strongly that what they're teaching when it comes to sales and marketing, listen to it. Do it, because sales and marketing is the most important thing. Your product can be B, your services can be B, but if your marketing and sales is B, it never works. Have good marketing and sales, reach out to the right customer, and at the end of the day, have a good product and service. Everything falls in place. So this is a learning which Rajiv Talreja has given me and to a lot of other people, and he continues to give it. And I believe it's a great thought process. When you pen down everything, you go by a process. You don't try कि जो, and people used to say कि business में तो करते करते सीख जाओगे. Business में करते करते आप time waste करोगे.
Or probably lose your,
and lose your money.
Right.
Business में आप तभी सीख सकते हो if you follow a process and you follow a system. You learn from the coaches, you learn well, and then you implement it. Implementation is more important than learning, and we are implementing. It's important to sit down with those sheet of papers and put down things and make things happen. And we are working on it allegedly.
So a lot of lessons learned in the process, and taking up the probably experience, learning from the experience of others and implementing that in your own setup, so that you do not burn holes in your pocket.
Absolutely.
Good. And I see you talk about products, sales, marketing. Now let's try and hear about what are those differences between, let's say, sales and marketing, and how people should focus more there.
See, marketing is all about generating leads, and sales is about converting those leads. We confuse the two and kind of focus on generating and converting leads at the same time. These are two different departments, need to be handled separately. One is for generating leads and one is for converting those leads. And this lead generation is a process wherein you have to experiment. You have to be in the top of things. You have to check what's working for you, what's not working for you, and you have to make the right kind of changes. So for businesses to understand, it is very important that you focus on marketing and sales separately.
So we already talked about the machine that we had. Now we are standing in front of the JCB. Take us through the ride and let us know what JCB does and what this machine is all about.
See, JCB as a brand has been very close to us because my father worked with JCB for 15 odd years. He was in dealerships and he was heading the dealerships primarily. And we started off with JCBs by doing excavators and backhoe loaders, and we have done quite a number of them. But once we positioned ourselves differently and we realized we are more like a reconditioning expert, we realized we have to do more equipments, we have to do more brands, and that's when we diversified. So from JCB we moved to doing a Caterpillar, from doing backhoe loader and excavator we moved to doing a soil compactor and a wheel loader. So what you see behind is a 432ZX wheel loader, which is a 2009 model, completely redone, completely repainted, and it is done all the way from Chechis.
All right. So a big boy's toy, which I can actually see. So with this, I see there are two different brands that we have. What all do we have in terms of brands, and why this diversification? Because I see JCB is a big brand, or probably I would say I've heard more of JCB and not the Caterpillar that way.
Right. So like in the past 1 month, we have done everything from a Ham, Dynapack, a Caterpillar, and even let's say a case. So these are multiple brands which are there in the market. They're close to 15, 20 plus prominent brands, and all have their construction equipment range, which is pretty massive. And I believe now what our focus is, since we are only focusing on reconditioning, we are trying to do more equipments and we are trying to diversify. And the more equipments we do, it becomes a lot easier for our clients, which are exporters, because then we become a one-stop solution, giving them proper reconditioned equipment. So that's the idea.
All right, so there is a lot of scope there, with a lot of those machines, different brands and different requirements that you are catering to. So the scope is big, and something, you can expand exponentially there. So take us through with the team size or the teams, or probably the various expertise that you have, because every individual or every team would demand a different expertise, and the individual is required. So what do you have in your backyard?
So initially when we started off, we had to deal with a lot of trouble when it came to the team, because everybody was trained to replace parts. If something is bad, they will take it off and replace it. That's how a typical dealerships function. There are overhauling units across dealerships, but these units are very limited. and not everybody is skilled to dismantle the entire equipment and get it back.
Right.
So we have trained our team for the past 2 years, and now everybody is trained in a certain manner wherein they know how to dismantle it, make sure what needs to be repaired, what needs to be reconditioned, what needs to be repainted, what needs to be replaced, and ultimately make sure everything is reassembled properly to perfection. So that's something which we have pride in doing, and it's a different team setup which we have done specifically entirely for reconditioning, and hence we claim ourselves to be the first people who are professional Karegars, because not everybody is tamed to work in a reconditioned manner.
Agree. And with this amount of team expertise that you have, the variety and the expansion, the variety and the diversity that you have in this kind of machines and the companies that you're looking at. Tell us about how do you see yourself probably 5 years down the line in terms of the expansion, the scope, your growth. How do you plan?
As a company and as personally myself also, where I see this company going and becoming a completely system generated company, and this will be operated on auto mode, and I'll rather like to build important relationships overseas and making sure that we are exporting the right product and making more relationships globally, and making at least a few more units for reconditioning, geographically expanding into newer countries. So of course there are a lot of things which are lined up, and but it's always better going step by step, and I feel the sky is the limit when it comes to reconditioning. The equipments are like limitless, and the capabilities which we can develop are amazing. So why not service as many exporters or as many buyers as reconditioning specialists as possible?
Sure thing, and I see that there is a lot of scope there with not just the earth movers. There are agriculture equipments, there are cranes, there are many things that the ground is limitless that you can cover, and with the self-sustainable model that you want to bring in the system, that is truly commendable. And if that happens, you are just there to oversee the areas and work with that.
Definitely, that's how it should work, and it's a lot of hard work. It's very tough to set up teams, reliable teams, but at the end of the day, it's very important to reward the teams also equally good when it comes to having good results. So we believe in setting up good systems and setting up good teams. And as an organization, we want to deliver the best quality to our exporters. We want to make sure everything is taken care of in terms specifically confidentiality and quality of the equipment. So yes, a long way to go, and I'm very happy to have you here. It's almost been 10 years since the RSC's journey started, and I believe a long way long time has already passed, but a lot to learn along this entire journey globally. So yes, looking forward to it.
The pleasure is all ours to be here and interview you and take all that learning from you. So thank you so much for giving us that time and sharing your learning and experience with our audience.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure being back associated in some form with the school, even after 7 years of after school. So great, lovely to be here.
So that was Ekanssh with us, who shared his journey and learning experiences from variety of areas, starting with the internship model, wherein he had an experience with the valuation, with CBRE, wherein he was into valuation as well as transactions, making networks, creating that bond, creating the network, selling those inventories, getting all those transactions done, and then still learning in terms of be it financials, be it other areas, and then creating this whole setup, which is the first generation of an entrepreneurship. And he is again getting his family into it, making things work for him, and with a bootstrap model that he's taking it over from not just setting it up in the Indian subcontinent and have plans to grow and expanding the borders. So that's something which is commendable, and we really hope that our audience have taken a lot of learning through this kind of conversation. So that is it for today, and we hope that we'll keep on getting those kind of learnings from experiences of our own alumni, and stay tuned for the next round of discussions that we may have. Thank you so much.